do most of the kids kind of know the concept of adopting, or is it no, right?
No, they don't know. They really don't. They don't really. When I say, like dog adoption, or especially like rescue dogs, they immediately, when I say rescue dog, they immediately go to like what they see on the news, like when there's an earthquake or something, a dog that's running around, sniffing, trying to find people buried under debris. And that's the shocking part, is like kids don't really know even the basics of animal adoption, and what rescue dogs are, what shelters are, and even how they could get involved. And I mean, I'm talking all the way up. We do from preschool all the way until 5th grade, which is like 11 years old. And unless the kids have a rescue dog, then they really don't know. Some kids do. They really know, and then you can see they stand out amongst their peers because they know a lot and the other kids know nothing. And that's been a really rewarding thing, because when we go in there, they know nothing, and when we leave, they're all equipped and ready to rock, right? Ready to make a difference in the world. And they're excited because they're like, wait a second, like this is a problem. Like there are dogs like this that need help in my community. And when they find out, they're like, oh my God, and then that's how you change the world. Because then when it's time for, the parents say, oh, let's go to the puppy store, or let's go to the breeder, we're going to get a dog. The kids will go, no, Mom, no, Dad, like, I want to go to the shelter. I want to get a Bubbins. And like, I believe that that's how we change the world. It's where the kids pose it to the parents, and then the parents are like, you know what? I never thought of that, but
yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, that's a really important thing. And is that for you the same a bit, Angela? Like, do you feel, I mean, you're not going to kids in school, but do you feel like a lot of people don't even really know what adopting is? Like, I feel that too, that you still have to sort of educate people on adoption.
Yeah, we get now, like Jason was saying, kids are amazing, so they're great, and they are the future. They always are. But yeah, we see a lot of people, adults, a surprisingly high number of adults who still don't understand. They don't know what a kill shelter is, or that most shelters are kill shelters. They still have that thought that, oh, I'm done with my dog for whatever the reason may be. I'm going to just go dump it at the shelter. Someone else will adopt him or her. No, most of the time I shouldn't say most, a lot of times they don't get adopted, especially if they have behavioral issues. But people don't know that. So when we're working with people, whether it's on the training side or the rescue side, people, they just, it's amazing. Like, to me, I think, like, how can we not know yet in our society here? How can we not know what a shelter is, what a rescue is, what happens in shelters? But so many people don't, even down to things like microchipping your dog. They don't understand what that is. They don't know, when you find a stray dog or a loose dog, take it to a vet or to, somewhere to be scanned for a microchip, things like that. So the education is definitely key. And I think at all levels, but especially with kids, like Jason said, they're going to be the ones that really make lasting changes. But educating adults as well, because a lot of them, like, we haven't done them in this past year or so, but when we were able to go out and do events for our advocacy group, we got a lot of adults asking questions. And it was really nice to kind of, just like with the kids, see that kind of spark of, wow, I just learned something new. Now adults are more apt to forget and go with what they're used to or convenience, but it's still nice to kind of see that a lot of them are willing to listen. They just don't know. They're used to, what they grew up on, and what they see in movies and TV and stuff, where most animals, most dogs in shows, they're purebreds. They're bought from breeders, and they're kind of touted as that. But I think as we start seeing more and more rescue dogs, shelter dogs, not to get into politics or anything, but even with our current U.S. president,
I just want to say, but then Biden went to get one.
Yeah, him having a shelter dog, regardless of what anyone thinks of the political side of things, what that's going to do and what that has already done for rescue dogs and especially shelter dogs is amazing. It's just putting a spotlight on them, and really that's all that we need. We just need more people to be aware.
Yeah,
it's really.
Yeah, I think so
that's
too.
what it is. It's awareness, and it's grabbing people cannot be people. I made this saying up and Mick said it was really corny, but I don't care. I said people can't care if they're not aware, right?
Yeah,
and that's the truth, you know.
yeah.
But that's really the truth, you know. If I mean, think about it, right? It's you know, when CNN or Fox News or whatever giant media outlet you want to talk about decides to focus on some sort of problem, that's when activity starts to take place, and the communities are mobilized, and the nation is mobilized, right? And all that is just getting eyes on it, getting ears on it, getting people to pay attention to it. And I think the other thing that we really need to, you know, try and really work on is adults have cognitive dissonance, like meaning like they don't want to know, right? Like because they're, let's be honest here. Being an adult, it can be tough, okay? Being an adult in COVID times can be mentally tough as well on top of that, right? So people are already struggling, you know, to be happy or to, you know, to stay positive or whatever. Seeing dogs in shelters, you know, in sad situations is not really raising their vibration. It's not bringing them up. It's not creating, you know, good vibes. But still, like we need to see it for what it is, and we know what creates good vibes: solving problems, getting involved in their community, doing good. That is what really gives you the goodness, right? So I think we need to. I think more and more like rescue dogs are becoming mainstream. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and that's really, really awesome. You know, I just think that over time, people will start to understand that these dogs are not throwaways. They're not damaged goods. You know, they may be living in harsh conditions, you know, that you don't want to know about, but that's not their fault, you know?
Yeah. I think that's something also, Angela, that you post on a daily basis nearly about on your Instagram is, I mean, I feel like it's amazing because a lot of times I feel like you are repeating yourself, but you are doing it in like, but then you kind of always take a different angle and you keep it, you know, you keep it on point all the time. I'm a big fan. But I think that that's something that you do a lot of as well, is kind of really showing people where the problem lies, you know, I think. And because one of your last posts was very much also about like kind of pointing the finger at yourself a little bit as well as just the dog. Like I think a lot of people always go, yeah, this dog is doing this and when actually we forget about ourselves, you know, like we are also there. We are also responsible, you know. Can you talk a little bit about that, Angela?
Yeah. So dogs are not malicious. They don't do things to be mean or cruel. Dogs and other animals, they do things either because they're taught or survival kind of instinct. So when a dog does something like tries to attack another dog, for example, they're not doing it because they just hate that dog. Like humans, if we're going to fight someone, there's often, you know, even with humans, there's a trigger. But humans can do things just because we're mean, or we can be. Dogs are not. So we have to look at what the actual issue is, what the underlying issue is. Things like aggression, it's excitement. It's excitement in the wrong way. It's excitement or fear, or, you know, there are these base emotions that we all sentient beings have. And if we're not identifying what the actual problem is, then we're not going to fix anything. And oftentimes the problem is us. We are doing something that is communicating to our dogs that we like something that we shouldn't like. For example, fearful dogs. If your dog is afraid of, you know, a stranger or fireworks, and we coddle that dog, you see this a lot with small dogs that can easily be picked up. When we coddle them and they're in a fearful state of mind, we're telling them we like that. Keep doing it. They don't understand why we're cuddling them, why we're petting them and stroking them. They don't know that we're trying to calm them like we would a child. They just think, okay, well, I'm getting attention right now. This feels good. I must be doing something right. So we see this, I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot. Little dogs who will lunge and bark at other dogs, and their people will come and scoop them up and say, it's okay, it's okay. That is not the little dog. The little dog is not the problem. The person is. And now most of the time we're not doing it intentionally. It's not like we're bad people. We're trying to, you know, create bad dogs. We don't know any better, and we view things like I don't know if I'm going to say that right. Anthropomorphize. Yeah, we make dogs. We give them human traits. There we go. We give them human traits when we shouldn't, and we take away those human traits when we should. For example, dogs experience emotions. So do humans. A lot of people kind of forget that, but they want to do things like coddle their dog when they're fearful. They don't think about what that's doing to the dog. So we as their kind of guardians, their gatekeepers into the human world, we need to look at what we're doing to communicate to our dogs what we like versus what we don't like. So anytime your dog is acting out, there's always a reason and there's always something that we can do to fix it. The burden should not be on the animal. It should not be on the dog or your cat or anything like that. It should be on us. We brought them into a human world, and we're imposing our human rules and boundaries and restrictions on them. So it's our job to show them the right way. And when we fail them, that's when we start seeing kind of their instincts kick in, or prior training, or reinforcement of bad behavior. So it really does come down to us and how we can help our dogs cope appropriately and be the best that they can be.
Yeah, and would you both think or see that is one of the biggest, because you have a lot of adoption failures, like you talk about this all the time, Angela, that you find it so, like, nearly sometimes I feel you find it so tiring to keep repeating yourself, in the sense like, guys, please, like, these poor dogs, they keep going from family to family. And, would you both think that is a big problem of that? Is that education, or are there any sort of things that, what is the reason why these adoptions go wrong? Like, is there some things that you can pinpoint?
There's a lot from what we can see. People put unrealistic expectations on their dogs. Stuff that they would never put on a human. You wouldn't take a toddler and throw them into a completely foreign environment with strangers and expect them to behave perfectly. Why do we expect that of our dogs? Oftentimes toddlers, they have more awareness about, like, they know the language, or at least part of the language and stuff like that, but we would never expect that of them. But we expect that of a completely different species of animal. So just ridiculous expectations of dogs, not giving them the time, not having enough patience for them. Dogs, they're like us. We have to acclimate. It takes time, and for every individual, it's different. So giving them the space and the time and the patience that they need. A lot of people don't want to put in the effort. So when you have, say, a shy dog, they take it very personally. That, well, the dog, it's been 3 days and the dog still doesn't want to come to me, or it shies away when I try to pet him. And we can't take that stuff personally. We have to try to think of it like, how would we feel in that situation? We've been sometimes living on the street, sometimes have really bad prior experience with humans, tossed around from home to home, and everyone keeps giving up on me. Why am I going to be attached to you? We have to earn their trust, and it's we would do that with a person. We wouldn't expect, a perfect stranger to walk up to the street and welcome us in a big, huge bear hug for the most part, COVID or no COVID. But we expect that of dogs or of cats, or, so it's a lot of it is education and putting ourselves aside. And if you're going to adopt an animal, do it for the animal, not yourself. You can be a part of the equation, but you're really trying to be there for the animal. You're not doing it because I have a void in my life and I want to fill it with whatever the next shiny object is,
Absolutely. Any other points for you, Jason? Like, I'm sure you agree with every word Angela is saying.
Yeah.
So am I. But
absolutely. I think it's, so many of us, like, how many people would know what Angela was just talking about with the little dog where you scoop them up, and they think that's okay, right? Or you're sitting with a dog, when the fireworks are going off and they're shaking and you're petting them. I mean, these are not things that people just naturally know, and it really is incumbent upon us as humans to understand that these, and I tell it to the kids too. These animals, they don't speak English. They don't speak any language for that matter. You know, they move off of feelings and instincts, and that is paramount that we understand that, you know, before we decide